Trinity's world is turned upside down as the mysterious Alpha imprints on her, forcing her into a destined relationship. As she struggles with her new role as Luna, secrets surface that could shatter everything. With the pack's future at stake, will she embrace her powers, or let her fears destroy her? And when a dangerous figure from the past reappears, everything she's fought for could be lost. What will Trinity do next?
When I grab your hand, run like hell. Vincent's words were barely audible. Trinity nodded just slightly, so he knew that she heard him. They were outnumbered 4-2, and they were surrounded. Trying to convince her that you're worthy of her trust? The big man from the Black Moon pack taunted Vincent. It's too late for that. Your pack will go down soon enough. It's a shame. If your alpha wasn't so unreasonable, we could have avoided all this bloodshed. One of the guards behind them moved closer. Bloodshed? Trinity did not like the sound of that. Trinity ran through all the options in her head. She understood why Vincent wanted to make a run for it, but all the guards had to do was shift and they would catch them in no time. And they'll learn I don't have a wolf. Trinity shivered. She didn't want to know what they would do if they learned she couldn't shift. If they couldn't run, they could try to fight where they were. Trinity searched her surroundings for a weapon, but the maid had already cleared all the dishes and silverware. And again, she worried the men would shift. They would rip me to pieces. Their only option was to wait for Reese to come back. These men wouldn't dare hurt Luna in front of her alpha. She needed to buy more time. You don't know who you're messing with! Trinity was talking about Reese, but the men took it the wrong way. What makes you so special? The guard behind them inched closer. You're a pathetically weak female. The big guard by the door cackled. All you're good for is a roll in the sack and popping out pups. Trinity's blood was boiling. If that's all you think Luna is good for, why isn't your pack more powerful? Trinity rose to her feet. Maybe if you treated women with more respect, you'd learn to shut your mouths and think with that thing between your ears for half a minute. All I've seen since I arrived at this pack is a bunch of little boys complaining about how nobody wants to give them any land. That land is owed to us, the big guard roared. According to who? Trinity almost laughed at him. Men and their entitlement. Last I checked, that land belonged to my pack, and when Reese hears about this, he's going to make sure that your pack doesn't see another acre of land for generations. How about you get out of your way and stop making problems for your alpha? He's not going to be happy when he hears about the mess you've made. All of the guards and Vincent stared at Trinity in disbelief. Who do you think you are? The big guard growled. I'm a Luna. Or did you forget? Omegas like you know to treat me with respect. How did you know I'm an Omega? Truthfully, Trinity couldn't explain how she knew that he was an Omega, the lowest rank of wolf possible. She realized she could look around the room and sense their individual ranks and strengths. While their combined power would overwhelm her, she was confident she could take any one of them on their own. Is this an added benefit of being a Luna? You reek of weakness, and your low status is plain to see. Try having a little more tact next time, and maybe your inadequacy won't be so obvious, she added. Another guard behind her chuckled. Trinity whipped around. Is something funny, pup? She quickly scanned him. I'd put a sock in it if I were you. Unless you want everyone to know you aren't just an Omega, but you're also only half wolf. The man flushed a bright red. Who's next? Trinity was enjoying her power so much she almost forgot that her goal was to buy time. Luna, are you sure this is wise? Vincent's words were almost soundless. He was terrified. Don't worry, Vincent. I know what I'm doing. It was the most sure Trinity had felt of herself in a long time. And you! Trinity turned on the third guard. Does your friend over here know that you're having an affair with his mate? Trinity gestured to the big guard. It was only one time, I swear. How did you know that? Vincent looked at Trinity in awe. That was actually just a lucky guess. Trinity shifted her focus back to the big guard. Who can blame her? With the way you talk about women, I can't imagine you would make a satisfying mate. You little...
I wouldn't finish that sentence if I were you.
Trinity heard a familiar, deep, smooth voice growl from near the door.
Vincent, the meeting is over. We're leaving. Reese stalked into the room and grabbed Trinity's hand. What happened here? Reese looked around at the guards who were each shaking with rage.
"We can discuss it in the car, Alpha." Vincent ushered them toward the door.
Very well.
As they walked out of the room, Trinity glared over her shoulder one last time, pushing all of her thoughts of rage, all of her negative emotions, toward the guards who had infuriated and threatened her. The man nearest to her fell over, and Trinity barely stifled a laugh. She managed to hold herself back until they left the house and approached their SUV. Then she burst into laughter.
What is it that you find so damn amusing right now? Reese snarled as he opened her door and shoved her inside before sliding into the driver's seat.
One of those idiots closer to me was so unnerved by us leaving that he fell over right before we rounded the corner. Trinity wiped away tears of laughter as both men froze. What? Trinity looked around at Reese and Vincent. Luna, tell us what happened. Vincent was speaking to Trinity slowly, as if she needed to be treated delicately. I'm serious. The last thing I saw was that guard, the big Omega who didn't know how to shut his mouth, fall to the ground. He wasn't even moving. Reese and Vincent looked at each other, worry and confusion on Vincent's face, a knowing expression on Reese's. It was funny. At least I held in my laughter until we got outside. Give me a little bit of credit for that. Plus, that guy deserved much worse. Trinity could see that they both knew something that she didn't. I'm so tired of being kept in the dark. Can we go? Trinity crossed her arms. I just want to get out of here. Reese started the car and put it into gear. Trinity felt a wave of relief as the Alpha house disappeared behind them. The meeting ended much sooner than I expected, Vincent probed. And not a minute too soon. Trinity shuddered to think what would have happened if Reese hadn't shown up. She had been running out of stalling tactics. She would have to find a more effective way to defend herself next time. Sir? Did something happen?
Yeah. We heard the commotion. Reese drove faster. That, and I was done listening to his stupid, baseless demands. What was with this pack? What happened in there? Why was everyone so angry with you, little bunny? He questioned.
Remember when you asked me to hide my bad attitude in front of the other people? Trinity asked playfully. I disobeyed you, but I promise I had a good reason. I thought they were going to attack Luna. Vincent looked at her, his eyes pleading. Please be more careful next time. It was strategic, Vincent. You know we couldn't run. We didn't stand a chance if we had to fight. We needed time. You never cease to impress me, Luna. Vincent leaned back in his seat, finally understanding her plan. I'm just relieved that it worked. If Reese hadn't shown up.
But I did show up. Reese cut her off. You did well, Trinity.
Trinity looked down to hide the blush flooding her face.
And anyway, you rescued me too. I was tired of looking at Stanley's pathetic face.
All three of them burst into laughter, even Vincent. It was a welcome release after the tension-filled encounter. Trinity was feeling better than she had in a long time after releasing her frustrations on those moronic guards. Will we be able to maintain peace between our packs? Vincent reminded them of how serious the situation was.
Probably not. Reese sounded somber. We will likely be forced to fight to keep our land safe and our boundaries intact.
Are they strong enough to take us on? If those guards were any indication of what the Black Moon Pack's warriors were like, Trinity wasn't too concerned.
If it were just our pack against theirs, they might stand a chance. Maybe. Reese drifted into thought for a moment. But we have the additional support of the fealty packs that will lend us aid.
But you don't expect them to play fair, do you? Based on Trinity's first impression of these werewolves, they did not appear to be the honorable type. They were up to something. That was for sure.
Not in the least.
They arrived at the hotel about an hour away from Stanley's Alpha house.
This is still technically Stanley's territory, but we should be safe. Reese put the car in park. We're on the fringe and in the border city now. It's unlikely they try anything.
Trinity and Vincent exchanged a look. After all of the close calls of the last week, they didn't trust it. Trinity couldn't resist hitting the bell on the front desk. Reese yawned beside her, clearly too tired to tell her to behave herself. Not that she would have listened. The hotel's lobby seemed to stretch for miles, with glittering chandeliers and gorgeous artwork. It was beautiful, but in a timeless way that felt majestic and modern at the same time. Back when Grandfather rarely let her out of the house, Trinity used to daydream about gorgeous places like this. I've never seen a hotel this nice, she admitted breathlessly. Reese glanced down at her. He stood so close to her when they went to other packs, she had to crane her head up to meet his eye.
Wait until you see the rooms, he said. Tired as he was, his voice came out huskier than normal.
Her breath caught in her chest. Reese probably didn't mean anything by it, but it almost sounded like a welcome invitation. "Thank you for waiting," a man said as he stepped up from the concierge desk. He tensed at the sight of Reese. He was a wolf too.
Reese nodded to the man. Reservation for Gray.
"Yes, sir. One moment." The clerk reached into the desk and pulled out their paperwork. "We've been expecting you. Here's your paperwork, and here are your room keys." He plucked 2 leather pocketbooks from the papers and placed them next to each other on the desk.
Which is which? Reese asked.
And where's the third one? Trinity thought. She knew not to ask aloud. 2 rooms made sense for their happy couple act. It was a little weird that Vincent and Reese would be on a different floor than her, but it was better than the alternative, her sharing a room with Reese. Her pulse quickened, but she chuckled it away. He hated her too much for that to happen. The clerk opened one to show the handwritten number inside. "This one is for the single on the 14th floor, number 1433. The other one is for your suite, sir, on the 25th floor, number 2501. You can take that elevator right there. Do you need help with your bags?" Reese shook his head. Vincent spoke up from behind both Reese and Trinity. "I've got them." Vincent had all 3 of their bags. Trinity supposed she'd have to take hers once they got to her room. Once the doors closed, Trinity held her hand out to Reese. He looked down, puzzled.
What?
She rolled her eyes. "I need the key to my room. How else will I get in?" Reese raised his eyebrow with a chuckle. He took the key card for room 1433.
Here you are, Vincent." Reese reached around her to hand the card to Vincent.
Trinity's heart quickened. Reese smirked. Vincent took the card while avoiding Trinity's eyes. "Thank you, sir. Should I carry your bags up?" Trinity couldn't breathe for a moment.
"I can manage," Reese said. He took his and Trinity's bags from Vincent's hands.
Oh, goddess. The elevator dinged to a stop on the 14th floor. Oh, goddess. We're sleeping in the same room. Vincent met Trinity's unbelievably wide eyes. "Do you need anything, Luna?" he asked her. Help. She needed a way out. She couldn't sleep in the same room as Reese. She'd never been with a man overnight before. What did Reese think was going to happen? Would he shove her away like normal? Or was tonight the night he tried to make a move on her? He wouldn't, would he?
Reese nudged her with her bag. "Well, little bunny, do you need anything?"
Trinity could hear the laugh in Reese's voice. She was nothing but a joke to him. A plaything that he hadn't taken out of the wrapper. Joke's on him, she thought. I'm staying in mint condition. Trinity narrowed her eyes at Reese. She wasn't backing down now. If he wanted to play chicken with their mate bond, then she would do it too. Not at all, she said. Good night, Vincent. Vincent looked worried as he stepped off the elevator. Good night. Be careful. When Reese smirked, she could see his canines, waiting for something to bite. Trinity held the eye contact for the rest of the ride to the 25th floor. It was the top level, and there were only 2 suites on the entire floor. Reese finally broke their stare to lead the way to the room. She tried to comfort herself as she followed him. It's a suite. Suite means multiple rooms. He can sleep on the couch like the dog he is.
He stepped in front of their door and sought out her eyes again. Without blinking, he slowly pulled the key from its leather holder and pushed it gently into the lock.
Trinity gulped. She couldn't help it. His eyes darkened, and she knew enough to know what that look meant. He wants me, she thought. He's going to try tonight. The thought should have repulsed her. She should have turned on her heels and rushed down to Vincent's room. Anything to get away from her big, bad alpha mate. So why did her whole body heat up? Her stomach flipped as his tongue wet his lips. She fought the urge to do it too. He gripped the door handle in his fist. Next thing she knew, Reese stepped forward and swept her into a bridal carry. She yelped. Her hands flew up to grab him on instinct. He laughed so freely that she bounced against his chest.
Welcome home, he taunted before crossing the threshold. He used one foot to push the door shut behind them.
Trinity's eyes flew around their suite. Frantically, she took in a living room off of the entry hall. Another larger door led to the bedroom. She couldn't breathe. He carried her forward, and the door felt larger and larger with each step. Her heart pounded so loud that he must have been able to hear it. He walked past the edge of the couch and...
He tossed her onto the couch.
Trinity shrieked. "Reese!"
He full belly laughed. Tears sprung into the corner of his eyes. You should see your face.
She huffed, embarrassed and aroused and angry all at the same time. But why? Ah! He laughed again before dropping onto the center of the couch beside her. His body was so big that he took up most of it. She could have scooted back to the armrest for more room, but she refused to give him the satisfaction.
His eyes danced. Use your words, little bunny.
"You," she spat out. It was the rudest thing she said to him directly. He smirked, leaning forward just enough that he became the only thing she could see. With her head tilted up to glare at him, and his tilted down to mess with her, there wasn't much space between their faces, or between any part of their bodies.
On the couch? I took you for more a traditional girl, he mocked her.
Her face burned at the insinuation. "I'd never!"
You'd be missing out, he sang.
He was having the time of his life teasing her. It was cruel and disgusting. So why am I so hot? She wondered. Why did she want to reach out and find another way to wipe that smirk off his face? "You're the one missing out, okay? I've seen the way you look at me. You're not a good actor, Reese."
I tricked you, didn't I?
He leaned back against the couch, and Trinity missed the closeness immediately.
Don't lie. I heard how scared you were.
"Well, I don't have my knife," she hissed. He looked confused. "In case you tried anything. It needs to be mutual, or you lose something." Her eyes drifted down to his pants. He sat so casually with his legs spread wide. She fought a flush at staring so blatantly, but she needed to make sure he understood her point. It'd be a little hard to bite off.
He pulled his legs together to protect himself. He looked flushed, too. I'm not a fan of biting, he told her, for future reference.
"And I'm not a fan of tricks," she told him. "You could have told me about the rooms."
He rolled his head back against his arm. He was practically draped along the couch at that point. It's a suite. Plenty of space for you to keep avoiding me.
She lifted an eyebrow at him. "Didn't think you cared."
He lifted one back. I don't. Now get off the couch, unless you've changed your mind on sleeping with me.
She cocked her head to the side and smirked. She reached out to put her hand on his knee. He tensed beneath her fingers. His eyes widened slightly. She leaned forward as she lifted from sitting to kneeling, and her face came close enough to kiss. She whispered, "Not a chance." Then she pushed up off the couch, using his knee for leverage. He needed a moment to recover. She got all the way to the bedroom before he called after her.
You can't avoid me forever. I will have you one day, little bunny.
"Sure you will. And I'll have a wolf." He chuckled in shock, and she laughed too. About the time she learned to joke about it. Some things would never change, but maybe they would. One day. "Trinity! Trinity! Luna! Wake up!" Trinity jolted awake at the Vincent's hissing. She reached down to grab her book from the floor. She didn't normally fall asleep in classes, but Professor Thompson's voice soothed her like no one else's. Plus, Trinity was still recovering from that weekend's alpha visit. Trinity turned to whisper to Vincent, "How long was I out?" "Long enough," Professor Thompson answered in a sneer. Trinity turned toward with a start. How could she hear that? One sniff of the air answered that question. Trinity fought down a gasp. She'd known someone in her class was a wolf. There were too many scents to pick out who before. But this close, she knew without asking exactly who it was. The English composition professor herself. "I'm sorry, Professor," Trinity said automatically. "I haven't been sleeping well. The last few weeks have been so busy, it won't happen again." She wasn't even lying. The last month and a half had completely changed her life. Professor Thompson leaned down to her ear. "You dropped your guard, Luna. Your alpha mate can't protect you forever. Best pay attention to what's around you." Trinity stiffened. Professor Thompson walked back to the front as if nothing had happened. How do you say something so ominous and scary and then walk away? Trinity didn't know if Thompson was a part of their pack or from somewhere else. She opened her mouth to ask Vincent, but Professor Thompson cut her off. "That's it for today. Class dismissed." Vincent rose to his feet. Trinity didn't want to ask him questions that Thompson could hear. "Let's get out of here," she said. "We have time for lunch," Vincent said. Trinity smiled. "At Franny's, please." Juniper perked up from a few seats down. The boys had sat between them that day. "I'm in. They're out." She barely finished her sentence before Paul and Cedar took off in the opposite direction. "They're joining some martial arts tournament." Trinity chuckled. "That's cheating. They'll be stronger than the humans by a mile." Vincent held the door to the classroom for Trinity and Juniper to walk through. The three of them fell into step once they got outside. The weather was nice enough that they could walk to Franny's kitchen. Juniper rolled her eyes. "Paul's practically made it to us both. Me in the romantic way, and Cedar in the platonic life-mate way. I thought I was getting away from my twin, but nope. He and my mate are practically running away together." "Did they tell you they're thinking of becoming pack warriors?" Trinity shook her head. "I'd put in a good word for them with Reese, but who knows whether he'll listen or not." Juniper sucked her teeth. "He'd better learn to listen. He can't treat you like crap forever." Vincent looked at Trinity questioningly. "Things haven't gotten any better? I thought they would after the hotel." Trinity's eyes widened as she shook her head sharply. It didn't matter. Juniper had heard him, and her best friend was a bloodhound. "The hotel?" Juniper screamed. "What hotel?" Trinity glared at Vincent. "You just had to say that, didn't you?" He tried to help. "They had to keep up appearances. They had to have one room." "One room?" Trinity shushed Juniper. "You have to stop screaming. We're going inside." Juniper held her hand over her mouth until the three of them got seated in a booth. The moment the waiter left, Juniper pounced on Trinity. "You were sobbing over him last week, and now you're sleeping together?" Juniper demanded. "I don't know if I should be more worried or proud of you for taming that beast." She wiggled her eyebrows at the end. Trinity blushed furiously. She couldn't meet Vincent's eyes. "There was no beast taming," Trinity insisted. Juniper pouted. "Not even a little bit?" Trinity's mind flashed back to their near kiss as she teased him with her hand on his knee. Vincent cleared his throat. "You look a bit red, Luna." Trinity swore. Nothing happened. There was some flirting and light touching. "Not like that! I touched his knee." "His knee?" Juniper exclaimed. "After I threatened to hurt him if he did anything I didn't want him to do. I said I didn't want to have to bite it off." She mumbled her last words as if that would make them less mortifying to say in front of her guard. Juniper laughed. "Trin, there are much better things to do than bite it." Vincent covered his ears. "I'm not hearing this." Juniper pointed at Vincent. "He knows all about it. That's how we got 3 kids. I'm just saying if Reese is booking romantic suites, maybe he's over whatever his hang-up was." Trinity's heart sang. "I don't want to get my hopes up. I told you what he said before. Actions speak louder than words. And he acts like he likes you." Juniper added. Trinity glanced at Vincent for support. Her guard looked hopeful too. "I can't believe we roped you into girl talk. I'm sorry, Vincent." He shook his head. "No apology needed. A little girl talk is a worthy price to be the personal guard of my Luna." Juniper smiled. "Free college classes aren't a bad price either." He laughed. "If only I could pick the courses." Trinity rolled her eyes playfully. "Okay, that's enough out of you two. Let's eat." Trinity felt better than ever on the walk back to the car. She had Vincent and Juniper on her side. Her mate clearly didn't hate her as much as he used to. Things are finally looking up, she thought. Then she sensed it. "Luna!" Vincent shouted. He sensed them too. He spun her around by the waist to move her out of the way. That's when she spotted the wolf sprinting straight towards them. "Shit!" Vincent grabbed her by the waist and took off running. He and Trinity ran toward the building that they just passed. Most people commuted here, so the students didn't linger around. They went to class, and they went home, meaning there was no one to hide behind. Vincent growled. How many? It was a test for her. She started to look, but he added, without looking. She sensed 2 for sure. Both of them were werewolves, already shifted into their wolf forms. They had to be rogues, or from an enemy pack. Why are they chasing me? She and Vincent rounded a corner, and Trinity sensed a third person coming at them, from a different angle at that time. 3, she said confidently. He dropped her wrist with another growl. Good, now stay behind me. I'm going to have to shift. Trinity's eyes jumped from him to the direction of the newcomer. She expected to dodge the new attacker, but this third wolf charged straight past them. Trinity got a whiff of them then. She had smelt the same scent that morning. It's Professor Thompson. Thompson's wolf rammed into the first of the attackers. That wolf flew back. Thompson took that brief pause to turn and look at Trinity, with the same bright green eyes that watched her during class. Trinity didn't know whether to be grateful or even more confused. Whose side was Thompson on? They didn't have time for questions. The second wolf charged at Thompson. Professor! Watch out! Trinity cried. At the time, Vincent leaped into the fight. Thompson turned quickly to ram into a second wolf, and with Vincent's added force, they crushed the wolf between them. The first wolf still hadn't given up. He slinked quietly in hopes of getting to Trinity without anyone noticing. But Trinity wasn't as oblivious as they all thought. She watched the wolf out of the corner of her eye. The moment he lunged for her, she kicked off the wall and used it to propel herself away. He crashed into it, losing time and speed. He doubled back to leap again. That time, Trinity caught him in the jaw with the tail end of a backflip. His head flew backwards, and he roared in pain. Oh no, not more of them. Trinity grunted. She heard at least 6 more rogues heading their way. This was an ambush. Luna, run! Trinity took off towards town. She knew the rogues were less likely to follow her where humans were. They'd timed the attack perfectly for a nearly empty campus, but if she could get back towards Franny's or anywhere else. Come on, Trinity, move faster. Vincent caught up to her easily. She was faster than a human, but he was still faster than her, even out of his wolf form. Faster, he urged. I can't, she yelled. Her voice shook. I'm sorry, I can't. He reached for her arm, pulling and lifting her into his arms at the same time. She struggled in his grip. No, I'll slow you down. Only if you fight me. His speed didn't change at all. Trinity tried to think of where to go. Their car was too far the other way. They couldn't get all the way to the compound like this. It would take too long. Their only choice was to go into town and stay there. Trinity gasped. We left Professor Thompson. She tried to look back, but couldn't see the familiar wolf. Focus, Luna. Where can we go in the city? Vincent asked, still running. Franny's won't work. The mall, Trinity said. It's crowded. All the humans will stop the wolves. The scents will help us hide. Vincent nodded. The mall it is. The streets were already getting busier. He slowed down and chanced a glance back. He couldn't see any of the rogues, so he set her down on her own feet. He kept one hand on her wrist to guide her and used his other hand to make a call. Rogue attack, he said the moment they answered. No time for games. I need you to get the others together and get to the mall now. Trinity could barely make out the other guard David's voice. Where the hell is the mall? Trinity took the phone. By the university, 5 miles north. Follow Chancellor Boulevard and you'll find us. Yes, Luna, be right there. Her heart pounded the whole way to the mall. The fountains in the center courtyard were their perfect vantage point. If anyone came near, Trinity or Vincent would see them. The two sat in tense silence, scanning the shoppers for friend or foe. Then Trinity smelt him. A wolf she would know anywhere. A wolf who smelled of spiced coffee and forest grounds. She chuckled. I thought you weren't saving me anymore, she said without raising her voice. She knew Reese was listening, and he rolled his eyes once he was close enough for her to see.
So, the little bunny finally admits she needs saving. Never thought I'd see the day.
How did you know where we were? Trinity struggled to hide her relief at seeing Reese. She knew he thought of her as a damsel in distress, and she didn't want to give him that satisfaction.
Reese smirked. He leaned forward. putting a hand on either side of Trinity on the edge of the mall fountain where she was sitting. I could have traced your mark. Reese brought his face close to Trinity's before putting his nose into her hair. But I was able to track you by your scent as soon as I was in the mall. Didn't she notice my scent too?
Would the other wolves be able to track me here? Trinity leapt up.
No. All of the people here would hide you from them. Reese grinned. Your smell is stronger to me than anyone else's, just as I'm sure mine is stronger to you.
Reese was enjoying this exchange too much. Trinity suspected he was up to something. She looked around at everyone who arrived with Reese. Behind him were guards from the pack, David, Shane, and Sean. Noah and Carter stood to his left and right. There was no one else in the world who could make Trinity feel safer, Reese included. As much as he pushed her away, Trinity knew that their mate bond was too strong for him to allow anything to happen to her. Noah and Carter were family, and they would always protect her, and the guards had sworn an oath to protect her at all costs.
Vincent, take the guards, search the area, and capture at least one of those rogues. Reese barked out orders. I want to know why they were on my land and hunting my Luna. Yes, sir. The men dispersed. Noah and Carter, I want a caravan back to the estate with Noah in the lead and Carter following. If there are no problems, you will return here to pick up the others. Reese's words spun around Trinity's head for a moment before they clicked. He had just given orders to everyone except for her, meaning...
Oh, goddess, we're going to be alone again. Trinity didn't know how much more alone time with Reese she could stomach. She watched helplessly as all of their companions dispersed before arriving at a Shelby Mustang with Reese. Isn't it a little gratuitous to have so many cars? Trinity waited for Reese to open the door for her.
Being the alpha isn't easy. Reese hopped into the driver's seat and revved the engine. Don't I deserve a perk or two?
They drove back to the estate in silence. Trinity could sense that something was about to change. They didn't say a word to each other as they climbed the stairs to the 4th floor. Trinity turned to walk towards her room when Reese stopped her with his voice.
Not so fast, little bunny.
Reese, I don't have time for this. I have an essay to write. With all of their weekend traveling, Trinity was too exhausted for homework. If she wasn't careful, she was going to fall behind.
Come to my office.
Reese walked away without waiting for a response. Normally, Trinity would have protested, but sensing the tension in the air, she agreed and followed him down the hall. She looked out the window and saw Noah and Carter driving back down the driveway, and she wished they were here to act as a buffer between her and Reese. Reese opened the door and waved Trinity in ahead of him, pulling the door shut with a snap behind him. She was about to take her usual seat when he guided her towards the sofa. So he wants this to be a casual conversation? Trinity wondered if that meant he wanted to comfort her because she had a tough day, or calm her because he was going to tell her something she wouldn't like.
What exactly happened today, little bunny?
Reese asked as Trinity took her seat. He sat in the far corner of the sofa, lounging leisurely. But Trinity could sense that he was anything but relaxed. I thought you were already informed. Trinity shifted uncomfortably. Didn't Vincent tell you everything?
I want to hear it from you, Reese growled.
I went to class with Vincent as usual. After class...
Anything happened during class? Reese cut her off.
Trinity glared at him. Why do you ask?
I need to know everything, little bunny. Little details that seem insignificant now may mean something to us later. It's important that you're thorough for your own protection.
Was she in danger? Trinity knew the risk that came with leaving their pack's territory. But was she really vulnerable to more attacks right under Reese's nose? My first class went fine, but I fell asleep in my second. I was so exhausted from all of our traveling, and Professor Thompson's voice is so soothing.
What happened then? He inquired.
Vincent woke me up when my book fell to the ground, and Professor Thompson came up to my desk. That was the first time I was close enough to her to notice that she was a wolf, but I've never really seen her in our pack.
She's from Riley's pack, Reese answered.
You knew she was a wolf? Trinity looked at Reese.
You think I don't know my own Luna's professors? She is not from our pack. She's from Riley's. She lives between our territories and commutes for work purposes. She is an ally, he added.
I know that now. Did Reese actually take an interest in Trinity's life? She searched his eyes for answers. How did he seem to know everything about her while constantly pushing her away?
Please, continue, little bunny.
After class, Vincent, Juniper, and I went to lunch at Franny's kitchen. After we ate, Juniper went back to meet with Paul and Cedar while Vincent and I went back to the car.
I thought Paul and Cedar joined you everywhere. Why didn't they go to lunch? He questioned.
They went to some martial arts thing. They're thinking about becoming pack warriors. Trinity sensed Reese's ears perk up at this, but he didn't respond.
What happened then?
That's when I sensed a man in his wolf form. Vincent tried to get us out of there, but then another wolf showed up to attack us as well. Then Professor Thompson joined us. She helped protect us. I'll have to thank her in the next class, Trinity added.
I heard you had to defend yourself personally. Reese held his body in a relaxed position, but his knuckles were turning white as he gripped the sofa.
Yes, one of the wolves circled around. I jumped out of the way, then kicked him in the jaw. Trinity was proud of herself for that maneuver.
And how did you come to be at the mall when there were only 2 attackers? You had 2 people defending you, yes?
Well, yes, Trinity fumbled. But at least half a dozen more wolves were howling in the distance. They were coming to back up the others.
So you would have been outnumbered 8-2. It was not a question, but a statement.
3, Trinity corrected him.
2, Reese snapped. You're not supposed to be fighting.
Haven't I proven that I know how to protect myself? Trinity frowned.
No, Trinity. You know how to buy time, not protect yourself. There's a difference. Reese finally gave up on attempting to appear relaxed. He launched himself off of the sofa and began pacing. You don't have a wolf. You don't stand a chance against one.
That's not true, Trinity snapped. I've been training to fight for almost 15 years.
No amount of training will make you as strong as a wolf, Trinity. Reese laughed. You know it. Can we stop pretending?
Do you hear yourself, Reese? Trinity stood. She didn't care that Reese was a full foot taller than her. She would not back down. All you've done since day one is pretend. I can't keep track of it anymore. We're pretending to be mates, fine. We're pretending I have what it takes to be a Luna, great. But I will not pretend to be some weak child desperate for your protection. Trinity marched toward the door and swung it open. I can take care of myself. Thank you.
You're done with school, Reese called after her, and she froze in her tracks. Temporarily.
What? Trinity turned around.
My number 1 priority is to keep my pack safe. The pack needs you alive, Reese added.
I'm almost done with the semester. Trinity had never begged Reese for anything, but he couldn't be serious about asking her to drop out of school. She had studied so hard for her entire life. Without a wolf, her education was what she relied on to make something of herself and to be a valuable member of the pack. Let me finish the semester, at least.
I can't risk you being attacked again. Reese couldn't even look at her.
So I'm just going to lose all the work I put in this semester? All the work I put in for over a decade to get to where I am today. As much as she hated letting Reese see her upset, she felt the tears begin to sting at the back of her eyes.
I'll work something out so you can still take your exams. But you cannot go to class until we get this rogue situation under control.
How long will that be? Trinity demanded.
I don't know.
The apathy in Reese's voice stung more than anything. Trinity couldn't control herself. The tears she was holding back started to fall. Congratulations, Reese. Trinity directed every ounce of rage she'd been holding into her words. I didn't know I could hate you anymore. But look at that. You succeeded. I didn't know I could hate you anymore. Reese saw the tears streaming down Trinity's face and looked away. But look at that. You succeeded.
It's just temporary, Trinity. Reese shook his head. No need to get so upset. We'll catch those rogues and get you back to school soon enough.
And after that? Trinity didn't even bother to wipe away her tears. Will we just go back to ignoring each other? Hiding in separate wings until we're forced to reproduce? And then we die? This isn't a life, Reese.
Reese hated seeing her heartbroken, and he hated that she blamed him, but he could not risk another attack. My decision is final, Reese declared.
Don't you have anything else to say? Trinity looked at him expectantly, shaking with frustration and rage.
No. What could he say to make her feel better? If he could round up the rogues and walk them away now, he would, but it wasn't that simple. Why couldn't she see that she was vulnerable? It was a danger to the entire pack.
I'll be in my room.
Trinity slammed the door and Reese sat alone for a moment. She did not yell at him. She did not beg him for anything or blame him for anything. She did not call him Fido or any of her other insufferable dog names. He never expected to miss that. I'm sorry, little bunny. Finally, alone with his thoughts, a suspicion in the back of his mind was starting to take form. All of the recent attacks involved one person, and all of them required information that only those closest to him would know. Reese was interrupted by a knock. He was surprised to find that he hoped Trinity would come back, but he knew it wasn't her. Her scent was too distant. Come in. The work of an alpha was never over. The door flung open and Noah strode in with a cloud of fury surrounding him. Looks like things didn't go very well, Reese growled. I could say the same to you, Noah barked. What does that mean? I just ran into Trinity's hallway and she was crying. She's disappointed. Reese looked down at his desk. She'll get over it. I told her she's prohibited from going to class. Why? Noah questioned. Did I miss something? Reese stood up. He towered over Noah. Or have our roles been reversed? Since when do you make demands of the alpha? Reese and Noah locked eyes for a moment before Noah looked away. Reese hoped he wouldn't have to address the issue again. Noah rarely questioned his decisions. Where are the rogues? Reese inquired. They were gone by the time Vincent and the others went back to investigate. Their scent still lingered, but there was no sign of them anywhere. None of them? Reese growled. No. Vincent will have a full report for you later. How could they all disappear so quickly? Something was amiss. Reese knew it. Someone powerful was pulling the strings, and Reese would find them. I need to discuss something with you, Noah, and it needs to stay between us. Reese returned to his chair and motioned for Noah to sit down. Yes, Alpha? Do you remember when Trinity was first attacked? Reese asked Noah. When you first realized she was your mate? Noah questioned. Yes. That rogue that went after her when she was returning home. I remember. Noah's eyes looked distant. She was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Could be. Or she could have been targeted. Reese watched as Noah's face flooded with understanding. You think whoever's behind this has been after her for that long? Noah asked him. It's a possibility, Reese replied. Most of the pack didn't even know she was Luna then. Noah ran his hands through his hair. I had only just learned. That is the part that concerns me. Reese took a deep breath. Then there was an attack by the Warlocks. There is only one way they would know when I was visiting Riley and that Trinity would be with me. Someone had to help them. It would have been someone in your inner circle. Noah was putting the pieces together. And now a whole pack of rogues is attacking her at school. Reese concluded. She is the target. Or someone is trying to use her to get to you, Noah observed. That's why I'm distancing myself from her as much as possible. I need to protect her. I need her alive to protect my pack. I don't intend to let her get close to me. Reese sensed Noah's tensing. I've been keeping her at bay for a while now. What? Noah's rage returned. Why in Goddess's name would you do that? He questioned. First and foremost, to protect her. Look at the facts, Noah. Reese turned on him. She's been attacked 3 times since finding out we were mates. Do you really think that's a coincidence? How many times was she attacked before now? Noah shook his head. Second, I never wanted a mate in the first place, especially one without a wolf. She would never be a true leader of this pack. She would never match me at anything. So I've rejected her. You've what? Noah's eyes darkened. Noah had always chosen his duty to the pack, to his alpha, over everything else, but Reese was testing him. I told her she was my mate in name only, that we will never be more than 2 people forced together. I said we will eventually share a bed to have a child and carry on the family line, but until then, she is nothing to me. Reese couldn't look at Noah. He didn't want to see the disgust on his face. Without a word, Noah got to his feet and approached Reese. As soon as he looked up, Noah's fist smashed into the left side of his face. The force of the blow would have knocked a weaker man off his feet. Reese remained where he was, but he did feel the bones in his cheek crack. What the hell is the matter with you? Noah snarled. What kind of man says that to his mate? Noah was like a brother to Trinity. Of course he would stand up for her. She's been attacked 3 times because of me, Noah. Being my mate is dangerous for her. I did it to protect her. You're confusing being cruel to her with protecting her. They're not the same. Reese had never seen Noah so angry. And now you're taking her away from classes? Can't you see how hard she's worked? Maybe she doesn't have a wolf, but she spent a lifetime trying to make up for that. She's days away from ending the semester. Are you really going to ruin all of that hard work out of spite? Noah sneered. You're just as delusional as her. When she's not here, she's vulnerable. Half a dozen rogues were ready to attack her. Am I supposed to send an entire army every time she needs to attend a lecture? The pack can't afford it, and we can't afford to lose her either. She stays here, Reese declared. I saw her in the hallway, Reese. She was inconsolable. You could have at least tried to comfort her. Trinity doesn't want to be comforted by me, Reese snapped. She says I'm nothing to her, too. She can't stand to be near me. How would you respond, Reese, if your mate rejected you? Noah knew him too well. You'd do the exact same thing. You'd fight back before showing any weakness. She's much stronger than you think if you'd give her any credit. I bet you didn't even try to make her feel better. Imagine if it were Nikki, Noah. Reese urged Noah to see his side of things. He knew Noah would do anything to protect his mate. Do not bring Nikki into this, Noah roared. I would never let anyone harm her, and I would never use her as an excuse for my own poor behavior. Nikki is everything to me. The mate bond is a greater gift than any other. You aren't just punishing yourself when you push Trinity away. It's not one of Reese's greatest acts of martyrdom. You're causing irreparable damage to her, too. I can't imagine anything more crushing than being told you are nothing to a mate. I can't believe Trinity has been forced to tolerate all of this pain alone, he added. Trinity has been attacked so many times. Think of how much worse it would be if I openly showed affection for her, or if people thought we were closer than we are. Someone is after me, after my position, and they think they can use her to get to me? So I'm pushing her away to save her. Reese tried to reason. You're not fooling anyone, Reese, Noah spat. All you're doing is pushing her away. Your enemies know how strong the bond is. This isn't about protecting her. It's about protecting your pride. Noah stomped to the door. And acting like you're doing this for the good of the pack? War is coming. Our pack needs an Alpha and Lunar that are united. If you can't give us that, we will fall apart. How can you not see that? Noah didn't wait for an answer. He slammed the door behind him, leaving without another word. That's a first. Reese stared at the closed door. In the past, he would have ripped someone's arm off for slamming his door. Now, he'd let two people have the last word and slam the door behind them in one afternoon. Having a Luna really was making him soft. I really just want to protect everyone. My pack. My Luna. Even myself. Why was it so hard to make sure no one got hurt?
He's going to kill me. She wasn't foolish enough to sneak out, but she did have a new idea. I only have 2 jobs, law student and Luna. And if I can't be a student, then I need to be the best Luna I can be. The only problem was that Trinity had no one to talk to about it. It was too embarrassing to call Katie, the Luna of the Azure River Pack. Katie probably learned everything from her mate Riley's mom. Just my luck that I don't have a mom, and neither does Reese. Well, not technically. Reese's mom was still catatonic in her room on the 4th floor. How did Reese's mom get everyone in the pack to trust her? Did she throw events, or did they love her automatically? Was Reese different before the incident? Trinity couldn't just sit on her hands. Not when the last Luna was only 2 floors and 1 cranky alpha away. With Reese gone for the day to visit another pack, Trinity decided that one secret visit couldn't hurt until he smells my scent and finds out anyway. She mumbled to herself. Trinity expected the room to be dark and dreary, but sunlight flooded the room from the open curtains. She was seated in the rocking chair next to the window. She looked like a gorgeous ghost. Her loose-fitting white nightgown made her pale, almost translucent skin glow. You're so small, Trinity whispered. 7 years of mental imprisonment had weakened the other woman. She sat facing the Luna and offered her a smile. I'm Trinity. I'm the new Luna. Reese's mate. Reese might have mentioned me the other day. Sorry I haven't come by sooner. I wish I could have met him when you were still around. Our pack loves him, but he has a hard time showing that love back. Losing you must have changed him a lot. Maybe that's why he pushes everybody so hard. And pushes me away. Trinity reached for the Luna's hand. I wish you could be there for him. Trinity stayed there a while longer, holding onto the woman's hand until she smelled it. His scent grew stronger by the second, so he was moving fast. I guess his alpha visit ended early. Do you want to say hi? Don't you dare poison. Poison? Trinity repeated, but Reese froze when he saw them. You really think I'd poison her? No, not with actual poison, just poison her against me. I wouldn't be saying anything that wasn't true. But no, I didn't say anything bad about you. I thought she might be lonely. His eyes got even wider at that. So you just came to visit her? You know she can't respond. That's okay. If I was like this, I'd want someone to visit me. She might not hear us, but she's in there somewhere. I can feel it. You do? He sounded hopeful and afraid, like a little boy. I don't remember much about her. Barely alive, Reese said, but still alive. If it bothers you, I don't have to do it often. I didn't say it bothered me. I never thought I'd see this. My mother and my mate holding hands. I didn't think you thought about it at all, Trinity said. I didn't. Not until now. How can he do that? How can he look at me so softly when he swears he doesn't care? I didn't think I would have something like this, not until you. And with how things have been, Reese nodded. Right. Well, it's good that you're finding things to do with your time. I know how much you liked your classes, but it's too dangerous to go out. She finished for him. Maybe she could bring others in. Like Halloween, but smaller, she thought. Her face lit up with the idea. Don't sound so excited. What if I did more of this? Not just with your mother, but with the other women and children who don't have anyone. Do arts and crafts maybe, or a book club? The arts and crafts could be the beginning, but once the attacks calm down, they could do supervised hikes in the woods. The cubs would love that. Reese hesitated. Trinity added, You already know all the families in the pack. Please, Reese, I need something. No one should be alone. Fine, but it should be small until Vincent gets back. Back? Did Heather go into labor? The smallest smile grew on Reese's face. She did. I came to tell you. Can we go? I want to see the baby. Easy, little bunny. The baby's not here yet. Oh, that makes sense. They'll come after Thanksgiving. That's 5 days away. You can keep busy for 5 days, can't you? Trinity made her most doubtful face, so Reese sighed. Fine. You can have a small group over on Tuesday. Small. Yes, so small. You won't even notice they're here. I gotta start planning. She turned to Reese's mom. Bye, Luna. Lila? How did he get from Little Bunny to Lila? That's my mother's name. You said you forgot it. Her name is Lila. Oh, it was a beautiful name. Trinity set her hand on Lila's shoulder. I'm so glad I came to see you today. Nice to meet you, Lila. Careful, Trinity called out to the running cubs. Their mothers chuckled as Trinity and Juniper tried to keep the kids from bouncing off the walls. Please tell me you have an idea to slow them down. I need to talk to the moms at least once before this is over. Who's ready to make their claws? The claws! Okay, you've got to sit very still to get your handprint to come out right in the clay. So sit and press down as hard as you can. Don't move. Then once it sets, we can put the fur on. The kids ran to sit at the craft table. Great, now that it's finally quiet. The kids freaked out. Half of them ducked while the others rushed to their moms on the other side of the room. What was that? Great, now that it's finally quiet. Come on! The kids freaked out. Half of them ducked while the others rushed to their moms on the other side of the room. What was that? I'm sure it's nothing to worry about. I'll go check it out. David stepped forward from his guard post near the door. Luna, I should check. We can both check. This is the safest place in the compound. One of the maids probably broke a mirror or something. Juniper gave a worried look to Trinity. She knew about the attacks, but Trinity gave a sincere smile to her friend. Trust me. Trinity tried to stay with her smile. Come on, let's make these so we can show the Luna when she gets back. She's gonna be so excited. Trinity and David left everyone in Juniper's capable hands. David stepped in front of Trinity protectively at the sound of running feet. But it wasn't an attacker. It was just Julie, one of the housekeepers, running in terror down the hall. Julie, what happened? Julie sucked in a huge breath and blurted out, There's a ghost on the 4th floor. I saw it with my own eyes. A ghost? She'd heard of plenty of creatures, but a ghost in their house? She looked at David incredulously. David tried to stifle a smile. Julie. Nope, I'm not staying in here until that thing is gone. I'm taking a break. Julie ran right past him out of the house. Never thought I'd find a superstitious werewolf. She could be right. But it was the 4th floor, where a certain someone sits in a rocking chair in a white nightgown. David's jaw dropped. You saw her? I shouldn't be surprised. You're his mate. Of course he introduced you to. I may have done the introducing myself. Come on, let's make sure Julie closed the door. They didn't need any more surprises. Or Reese getting upset that his mom's room was open. David and Trinity had just reached the 4th floor landing when she smelled Reese coming up the stairs behind them. What was that scream? Reese asked. Is everyone all right? David nodded nervously. Yes, Alpha, sir. Julie said she saw someone. The Luna and I were investigating. No one goes on this floor without my permission. What if the mothers followed you? What if they saw? Reese? Trinity gasped at the weak voice from down the hall. All 3 of them turned in unison, and there she was, the ghost of the 4th floor, Luna Lila Gray, leaning weakly against the wall by her door. She could barely stand. Each step she took shook her whole body, making her ghostly nightgown sway. Mom! Reese ran to her. He scooped her into his arms, squeezing her to his chest. He glanced back at Trinity and David. She's real. She's awake. Then, turning his head slowly to stare down at her, he whispered, Mom, you're awake. Lila's jaw trembled. You've grown so much. Reese laughed. He swayed with his mom in his arms. Trinity could see the tears in both of their eyes after that. He kept whispering even though they could all hear him. How are you awake, Mom? What happened? I missed you. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have been here for you. Don't hate me. Please don't. As his tears flowed down his cheeks, Trinity heard David turn around. This is their moment, a family moment. She turned too. She only took 2 steps before she heard Reese. Where are you going? He asked her. I left the families downstairs. We should let them know we were right. Nothing's wrong. Wait, Lila said. I know you. I've heard your voice. She must be confused. Oh, no, ma'am. We've never met before. Lila looked back at Reese. I thought I must be confused. I probably sound like someone else. Common girl, common voice. I'll leave you to it. Come on, David. Wow, 7 years. And now she wakes up. What changed? It couldn't have been me. One visitor wasn't enough to help a woman find her way back to this realm. But if it was, how would Reese handle that? After hiding her away for so long, if it only took one visitor who wanted to say hi, she shook the thought away. I guess we'll never know. The rest of the night flew by. Before she knew it, the families were gone and it was time for dinner. Trinity felt too exhausted to do anything else. Something about Lila awakening drained her. Reese probably won't notice I skipped dinner. He'll be so happy that his mom's back. She should have known Reese's happiness would be short-lived. He stomped down to her room just after dinner started. She smelled him coming down the hallway before she heard him. Trinity rolled her eyes. What now? Open the door, he barked from the other side. Open it yourself, she snapped back. How could you possibly be angry with me right now? You're avoiding me again. He slammed the door shut. She sighed. You're going to break something, and I'm not avoiding you. I just wasn't hungry. He stalked closer to her. For once, she backed away instead of rising to the challenge. What did you do? He asked her. What? My mom spent 7 years without so much as a word, but you visit her, and now she's walking around. Do you have to blame everything on me? You heard me talk to her, Reese. That's all I did. That's it. That can't be it. What did you say to her? Tell me. She shuddered at the force of his voice. I told her to come back. I said I wished she would come back because you needed her, and I needed someone too. I can't ask anyone else how to care for this pack or for you. She's the only one you love. I wanted her to come back for you. But Reese backed away. But she heard you. She must have. She wouldn't have heard your voice anywhere else, and no one sounds like you do. You are one of a kind. It was the best compliment he'd ever said to her. I couldn't have done this, Reese. I don't have that power. I don't even have you. It doesn't make sense. His pain looked like hers when she thought of her own mother. If they were a normal mate couple, Trinity and Reese could have bonded over losing their mothers. They could have laid in bed, tending to each other's heartache. Instead, Reese stormed into her room to accuse her of what? Finding some secret way to bring his mother back? As if Trinity had committed a crime by simply existing. Even if I did help your mother, shouldn't you be saying thank you? Not screaming at me? Why can't you treat me like a normal person? Reese didn't answer her. Reese, answer me. He stopped with his hand on the doorknob. I'm sorry. Sorry? For which part? He would never tell her. The real ghost in the house was the emptiness between them. I'm sorry, Reese repeated as he closed Trinity's door behind him, unable to answer when she asked, For what? He heard her sobbing. It broke his heart to be responsible for her tears once again. Reese didn't know why he had confronted Trinity with anger. In the short months since he had met Trinity, he had felt a whole range of emotions that he had never experienced before. All of that, on top of the responsibility he felt to be a strong alpha and protect his pack from impending danger. He thought of Trinity's face when he said, You're one of a kind. All it took was one small compliment from him, and she looked ready to forgive everything. After he had been so cruel, he couldn't stomach it. Besides, it didn't feel like a compliment to him. It was a fact. Reese's hand lingered on the doorknob. He longed to throw the door open and take Trinity in his arms for everything. He wanted to say, I'm sorry for everything. Instead, it was almost like an invisible force pushed his hand away, and Reese walked down the hall toward his room. The only way I can protect her is by pushing her away. We know one thing for sure about alphas. Trinity poured a cup of tea for Lila. They do not like being told what to do. May I give you some advice about my son? Please. Although Lila had been in a catatonic state for 7 years, her observations held true. Reese feels obligated to be in love with you, but he doesn't want that. He wants to make the decision for himself. Make yourself his safe place. How do I do that? Reese did not seem terrified to her. He was the terrifying one. Trinity stirred her tea. She found herself drinking slowly to buy more time with Lila. Their visits always ended too soon. While Lila regained her strength, she could only entertain visitors for a short period of time. Don't bother with Reese's feelings, Lila said. Trinity laughed. I'm serious. Lila knowingly sipped her tea. Focus on yourself. Reese will see what a strong, intelligent woman you are.
As Trinity's relationship with Reese grows more complicated, tensions between them reach a boiling point. With danger closing in, trust shattered, and love hanging by a thread, will Trinity find the strength to navigate the chaos, or will the truth tear her apart?
Want to know what happens next? Click on the link in the description below to watch further episodes of Chosen by Fate, Rejected by the Alpha.